Good afternoon. Thank you all for being with us here today. We're at our Emergency Operations Center in Gretna. I'm joined today by our Sheriff Joseph Lapinto, as well as our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente, our Chief Administrative Assistant over Public Health, Sarah Babcock, Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, our Director of Water, Sydney Basley, our Director of Fire Services, Chief Don Robertson, our Interim East Bank Consolidated Fire Chief, Brian Adams, as well as Patrick Hamby from Entergy. He's the Customer Service Manager, and you know Shari Bernius from the Deaf Action Center. Thank you for being with us, Shari. We wanted to hold this press conference today because, you know, let's put it in perspective of last week's tornado that we had and the devastation that happened. And those of you who covered that event and saw that destruction, it was an absolute miracle that we did not have any lives lost during that time. And the reason that happened was because there was preparation beforehand. Schools let out early, employers let out early, people were off the roads. I mean, you know, if in those areas somebody was on the road at that time, they wouldn't be here today. So we took it very seriously, and we were able to get through that event without any fatalities. We want to do the same for this upcoming weather event. What's approaching us now is extreme cold weather that we're just not used to. You know, we know how to handle floods, we know how to handle hurricanes, but we're really not used to handling this extreme cold weather over a period of time, over many days. So again, this is about preparation, and it'll help us get through these next few days, hopefully with minimal injuries and no fatalities. So that's the reason we're doing this. I've declared a state of emergency for Jefferson Parish in response to the rare and hazardous Arctic air mass, which is expected to bring a multitude of hazardous conditions to our area as early as late tonight through Christmas Day. You're going to see below freezing temperatures, strong wind gusts, a wind chill factor that will feel like 12 degrees. So there are many, many perils that will be and could be facing us in the next few days. High winds can cause damage to trees. You know, trees could fall. That brings down the power line. We could have electrical outages. So we face that, and Patrick will talk more about the preparations Entergy has. Obviously, the high winds just blow things down, so we could have things flying in the air, hurting pedestrians, hurting vehicles moving in the roadway. So be mindful. We want you to start, you know, a lot of people have holiday decorations around their house right now. It's time to start bringing those in so you don't lose them and that they're not a danger to anyone walking in the street or vehicles in the roadway, or they end up in our roadway. Water pipes could burst and bring on low water pressure. Roads could ice and cause traffic accidents. And then we have the heater issues in our house, whether it's because you lose electricity and you have a generator that's happening, and you know we had carbon monoxide poisonings after Ida, remember? We lost some people. Also, the space heaters that people use in their homes are very, very dangerous, and we want to make sure that it's done in a safe way. And Chief Robertson and Chief Brian Adams are going to talk more about that. People have candles in their homes. They could have more people in the house. So we have a lot of hazards facing us. On top of that, we have vulnerable populations. We are still moving people into trailers that have dealt with the tornadoes. So we're on our team is making sure that they have the fuel to stay warm. And then we're also going to make and open up warming centers for people who need a place, a safe place to be in the next few days. We're having one on the West Bank at Terrytown Playground and one on the East Bank at Bright, and we're making those preparations now. So Sarah Babcock's going to talk more about that. So right now, you should be wrapping up your preparations for the next few days and the extreme cold weather event and prolonged freezing conditions. Don't forget to check on the people, your elderly neighbors, your relatives that might need additional assistance. Let's check on them. I want to talk a little bit more about the water dilemma that we have. A lot of people are going to be running water to protect their pipes from freezing. The meteorologists are telling you to do this. We know this is happening. Also, we as a community in Jefferson Parish have an aging water system that is susceptible to freezing temperatures. And our pipes, our own pipes, the community pipes could break. So freezing temperatures could cause large waterline breaks in our system all at once. So the combination of the large potential waterline breaks from freezing, along with customers running continuous water in their homes to avoid freezing, could result in millions of gallons of water lost, okay? That loss of water too fast without control could result in a loss of water pressure. And if we lose water pressure past a certain point, that will trigger a boil water advisory. So this is something to be mindful of. We as a community have to work together on making sure that we not only protect ourselves, but as a community, we're protecting our water source, okay? So therefore, our Jefferson Parish Water Department is recommending that you don't run your faucets unless you have a residence that is raised off the ground. Homes that are built on a concrete slab have the added protection of that concrete and that soil around it and don't require running taps for an extended period of time. But the houses raised off the ground are much more vulnerable to freezing and breaking. Just as we're also taking our own precautions, so effective today, we're shutting down all of our water at our recreational facilities. So if you're using our recreational facilities for the rest of today, there's going to be no water source there. In the parks, in our gyms, we want to protect our own pipes so that we can resume programming as soon as we're able and we're not having issues regarding the water supply at our recreation systems in our parks. It's also very important that residents follow all the fire safety tips to ensure your home is protected. And of course, again, we're very concerned about the use of the space heaters and flammable materials too close to space heaters. I'm going to let Chief Robertson and Brian Adams go over those dangers as well. And as I've mentioned, also with generator use and carbon monoxide poisoning. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on animals now because Michelle Brignac wasn't able to join us, but she sent a long list of how we need to protect our animals with this water event. So it's a common belief that pets are more resistant to the cold weather than people are, but that really is not true. If it's too cold for you, it's also too cold for your pet. So just like people, pets are susceptible to frostbite and hypothermia. Your pet's tolerance for cold weather may be based on a variety of many things: their coat, their fat stores, their health, their age, their activity level. So we do not want to keep pets outside for long periods of time during the cold water event. If you can bring your pet inside to shelter against the cold water and the wind, make sure your pet has access to non-frozen water and that you're changing the water frequently in their bowl. The floor of the shelter should be off the ground to minimize heat loss. And the bedding should be thick and dry and changed regularly. Put on that sweater on your pet. Make sure if the sweater gets wet, you're changing it out. Because that can make them actually colder. And again, if your pet is whining, shivering, or slows down, seems anxious or weak, that could be signs of hypothermia. So J-PAWS can help you if you have any issues with that, if you need assistance with food or bedding or those things. So the number for our J-PAWS, Jefferson Protection Animal Welfare Society, is 504-349-5111. For the homeless people, we do have a plan for that. We encourage everyone to seek shelter. Our Community Development Department and our Emergency Management Team is going to coordinate temporary housing for homeless individuals through our local community partners and outreach groups. Our Jefferson Parish Human Services Authority will provide outreach and notification for individuals seeking shelter, and I'm going to let Sarah Babcock go into much more detail because our teams have been working on that as well. And then other public works updates. You know, we'll have teams on standby. They're very busy now preparing for this activation. So we want to make sure that, you know, you all are aware that we're doing our job on that front. And Mark Drews and Sydney Basley will be able to give you more detail on what we're doing to prepare for this event, okay? So with that, I'm going to let our Sheriff Joe Lopinto come up and give you his briefing. And then we'll go on to the other speakers. Sheriff?
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, my biggest concern is ice. I need y'all to understand the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is normally prepared for everything, especially with hurricanes and major events or a tornado from last week. One that we're not prepared for is ice. We don't have the salt trucks, the chains on our tires, the things that we can't get to places. Certain things that we can do, both of our facilities on the East Bank and West Bank will be available for operations to respond to 911 calls. I ask people to make preparations today. Get what you're going to need over the next couple days. Try not to drive at night, especially during that period of time. If you come across ice, we're not expecting a widespread ice event, please call us at 911 so we can try to avoid having accidents. It gives us the ability to not only continue to respond, but to get those accidents off the road so we're not having other ones. Try not to drive. That's what I need you to do this weekend. Go fill up your car today. Make sure you have enough gas in it. Nobody's evacuating. Nobody's going anywhere. But we don't need the accidents out there when it's teens of our weather. That is not something that we prepare for in South Louisiana on a regular bit. We're going to have to get through a couple days of it. Again, the Sheriff's Office will still be out there ready to respond, but getting to you will be a slower process if the rain comes through. If it's just cold weather, it shouldn't affect us at all, but if we have some rain that comes through that ices up our roads, we need everybody to be safe, y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next, we're in his house, Joe Valiente, who's the director of our emergency management team. Joe?
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, everyone. So currently, the EOC is at a level 1 activation, so our on-duty coordinator will handle all minor complaints until the temperature drops below 32 degrees. At that point, we'll move it to a level 2 activation, and the situation that has now has a potential to escalate, and a partial activation of emergency management staff only. So if that continues and it persists, which it is predicted to do so, and we have a site area emergency affected any number of Jefferson Parish citizens, will go to a level 3 activation, which means our entire team on the emergency management side will be activated in the EOC, and the departments that we've outlined that are going to be used in that response based on past experiences. So JPEM has contacted and discussed response strategies with the following Jefferson Parish departments: Mark Drews of Public Works, Sidney Baisley, Water Department, Brian Parks of Parkways, Mario Bazio, JP Recreation and Parks, Ron Babcock, General Services, and Brooke Burmaster of Streets. We also will support all of Sarah Babcock's efforts as it relates to any emergency sheltering that is needed, or any support services that are needed for the 30 or so trailers that we have in Signac Park and the Lafitte area that are addressing the needs of the tornado victims. So remember to sign up for Jefferson Parish weather updates and situational awareness updates with JP Alerts 888-777, JP Noticias with 888-777, and we will have a 24-hour number in the EOC, which is 504-349-5360. In the event any citizens have any issues with this cold weather, they can contact us, and we will handle the situation as needed. So thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is our Chief Administrative Assistant, Sarah Babcock. Along with Joe, they've been very busy dealing with, the aftermath of the tornado, going right into this. So Sarah should give you an update on our shelters and our homeless initiative. Sarah?
Good morning. As the parish president mentioned, we are still housing survivors of the tornado from a few days ago. We have currently filled all of the trailers at Bayou Signet, and at this time we are installing 10 additional trailers from the state at a location in the John Lafitte area. So we do still have accommodations for any tornado survivors that need a temporary place to stay. I would just want to remind everyone that those trailers are for individuals who sustained major damage to their home during the tornado and are a renter or a homeowner who does not have insurance to cover temporary housing. In order to request a trailer, you can call our Emergency Operations Center here at 504-349-5360 or go online to jeffparish.net to fill out a form. In addition to that, we are preparing for our winter weather by providing temporary housing for our homeless individuals throughout Jefferson Parish. We have outreach teams that are on the streets right now, going to places where we know homeless individuals to stay and moving them into that temporary housing as we speak. Throughout this event, if you or someone you know needs temporary housing due to their homeless status, you can call our Emergency Operations Center. Again, that number is 504-349-5360. In addition, we are going to open warming centers at Terrytown Playgrounds here on the West Bank and Bright Playgrounds on the East Bank. Those facilities will open at 9 p.m. tonight and will remain open 24/7 until the end of the threat Sunday morning. This is not a shelter. There's no cots and wraparound services, but it's meant to be a temporary place for people to come in for a few hours, whether you don't have adequate heating in your home, you've lost power, you'll be able to, charge devices in these locations. And again, they'll be open again starting at 9 p.m. tonight. And then finally, we are coordinating with all of our healthcare facilities, our nursing homes, our hospitals, and our dialysis centers to ensure that they have the utilities they need throughout this event so that they continue operating successfully. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, and our Director of Water, Sydney Basley, and they're going to talk about some of the preparations we're doing as well as the concerns we have about our water system.
Thank you, Madam President. With regard to Public Works is ready. We're going to rely on our most vital aspect, as always. That's our personnel. Many have been through these types of events before, so they know what to expect, and they're ready to respond. This past week, we've been weatherizing all our facilities, so our buildings, our equipment, and our vehicles are ready for these freezing temperatures. In the event we do have an extended energy outage, obviously our major sewer treatment plants, our East and West Bank water plant, and all our major drainage pump stations have that backup generators with a 5-day supply of fuel, so we'll be able to maintain operations. When it comes to garbage, tomorrow's pickup will go on as scheduled. However, if it deteriorates to where we feel it's unsafe for those workers out there collecting the garbage, it will be suspended. On Sunday, Christmas Day, we will have the landfill closed and our 4 trash drop-off sites. On Monday, the landfill will be back open, but the 4 trash drop-off sites will remain closed because that's their typical day off. They'll open up on Tuesday. Now, with regard to the most critical infrastructure that we have for this event, that would be our street network and our water network. For streets, we have 4 dump trucks loaded with sand, ready to go. They each have a 6-person crew, so that if we do discover any black ice on the roads, we will send those out to sand those roadways. They also have the capability of installing barricades quickly so that we can shut off roads as necessary. We do have an salt machine that we can use. We only use that obviously on our bridges that have significant height, of which we only have 3. That's Lapalco over Harvey Canal, Lapalco over Bayou Signette, and Causeway over Airline. The DOTD has all the equipment and personnel to respond to any of the state routes. So they can handle those, such as your I-10, Jefferson Highway, Airline Highway, US 90, West Bank Expressway on the West Bank. Okay? With that said, actually the most critical infrastructure is our water system. It's in the capable hands of our director, Mr. Sydney Basley, and I'm going to turn it over to him, and he'll give you an update on the water system.
In preparation for the upcoming freeze event, the Water Department will place additional standby crews on call for the entire freeze event. We will have additional help from our point repair crew, Fleming Construction. The Water Department has field and outside maintenance crews that will follow the department, what we call the freeze rule. The goal is to shut down water line breaks as quickly as possible. During normal situations, we will give the customer an hour notification of water service shut off, but in this case, we want to shut off the water breaks as quickly as possible. We will notify all residents affected immediately after. The Water Department will quickly respond to all calls and conduct repairs and restore water service as quickly as possible. All treatment plants will be on high alert, and we'll have additional maintenance crews on standby. We will make sure we have all storage tanks and reservoirs filled to handle anything that comes our way.
Okay, next we're going to invite out Director of Fire Services Chief Don Robertson and our East Bank Consolidated Fire Chief Brian Adams. I know they're very concerned about the next couple days. They don't want to be responding to things that we could have, prevented beforehand. So, Chiefs?
Thank you, Madam President. And we are really serious concerned about this. As Sheriff LaPinto just said, we don't deal with teens in temperatures like this. So people need to heat their homes, and we understand that. But some of the points I'm going to make this morning, please take it to heart and understand that we are here about life safety. You need to have a smoke alarm in your house. We talk about this all the time. A smoke alarm can be provided today if you call your local fire department. If you can't get in touch with your local fire department for whatever reason, call the Emergency Operations Center, which you heard the number, 504-349-5360. And that staff will get in touch with me, and we will get people out today. We have smoke detectors available to put in your homes as we speak. And our fire departments are ready to go out and install them at this time. If you have a smoke detector in your house and something happens because of your heating system or whatever you're doing to prepare for this weather, that smoke alarm will notify everyone in that house that there's an emergency and we need to get out. We recommend that you put them on every level of your house. If you live in a two-story house, you need one on the second floor, and you also need one on the first floor. If you have the opportunity, put multiple ones. Put one outside of every bedroom in your house so that everyone knows if there's an emergency. While we are talking about detectors, we also recommend a carbon monoxide detector in your home. We hope that we won't lose power, but there is a possibility, which you've been hearing, high winds, tree branches snapping, and putting out power. We know from experience that people will use portable generators. Portable generators put off the silent killer that we've all heard of, carbon monoxide, okay? You do not see it. You do not smell it. It's odorless. Some of the symptoms of carbon monoxide is headaches, dizziness, weakness, upset stomachs, vomiting, chest pains, confusion. Some people describe it as flu-like symptoms. If anyone in your home starts feeling sick, please call 911 immediately. That'll get the sheriff's office started, that'll get the fire department started, and of course EMS. That could be signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. What causes carbon monoxide poisoning? Heaters that are not properly vented, water heaters, if your water heater is inside. All natural gas appliances put off carbon monoxide. It vents through your roof, through the venting system, if it's all perfect, and you never know about it. The problem is there a defect in a venting system or something that is not letting those fumes get out? While we are talking about this, your home system, heating system, is designed to heat your homes. Do not use your stove to heat your home. Do not open your oven to heat your home. That produces carbon monoxide. Going back to what we just said, if anybody, for any reason, has any of the symptoms of carbon monoxide, please call 911 immediately. As the parish president said, we lost a family of 3 for Hurricane Ida because of carbon monoxide poisoning because of a portable generator. While we're talking about heating your home, you've seen on the news recently that you almost can't find a portable space heater in a store today because people have bought them. If you have a portable heater, the new ones are designed, if they tip over, they are to shut off. Some of the older ones were not designed to that. So if that heater falls over and it falls on any Class A material, combustible material, if it falls up against a curtain, if it falls on a floor that has carpet, it can set a fire. So we are recommending, if you have a portable heater, plug it directly into the outlet. Do not plug it into an extension cord, because some of those heaters draw a lot of amperage. And again, with a cheap extension cord, that could cause a fire because of an electrical problem. Make sure the heater is on a hard, level surface, the floor. Do not put it on a chair, So if you put it on a chair and it falls off, we back to square one. It could fall on a bedding material. Some people say they have it, and first thing you know, it gets too hot, they take the bedding material off of their bed, it falls up against the heater. Again, we have a fire. We are asking you to keep that heater 3 to 5 feet away from any combustible materials. If you leave your home for any reason, if you've got something, you're finishing up shopping, turn the heater off, unplug it. That's how simple it is. Unplug that heater. Don't leave it on while you leave. And lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about portable generators. If, again, you lose your power and you want to use your portable generator, put it as far away from your house as you can. 15 to 20 feet is our recommendation. Keep it away from a door. Keep it away from a window. Look up when you put it up. If there's a vent and the wind's blowing, it can blow it through that vent, again, bringing the carbon monoxide into your home and possibly causing a problem. In closing, your fire departments in Jefferson Parish are ready, just as the sheriff's office is and our emergency management divisions. If there is any questions for anything, call 911 and let a professional come out there and advise you of what you need to do. Thank you.
I think you can see the chief's passion, and the reason for that is he and his team and Chief Adams' team, they're the ones who have to respond and be on the scene, and they've seen, you know, the terrible consequences. So let's take all of his advice and all of his warnings to heart, and let's not get into any of these situations that he just warned us about, okay? The next person, Patrick Hamby from Entergy, thank you. Thank you for your response during tornado. Thank you for always keeping us in the loop. So Patrick, if you can come up and tell us what you're planning for the next couple days.
Thank you very much. Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. It feels, and we have been on a roller coaster here the last few weeks with warm spring-like temperatures followed by tornadoes, which we responded to very quickly in team and unison with Jefferson Parish emergency response officials. But now we're preparing for the Arctic freeze for this weekend. And Entergy is prepared, rest assured. We have 3 pillars, if you will. We have our generation plants. We've checked, inspected, and have no issues with our generation capacity. We have the transmission lines that come out of those plants. Everything is in order, no issues or predicted problems there. And we have our local distribution lines, which go to the neighborhoods and small businesses. Everything is fine there. It has been mentioned, however, there may be some winds and the potential for ice, so there could be some vegetation-related outages, things like that, but it shouldn't be anything prolonged at this point in time. Our power delivery system, that's our generation plants, transmission lines, everything I just talked about, is literally monitored every second of the day. We have an independent system monitor called MISO. That's the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, which stretches from down here in the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Canadian border and across even into Canada. So that is monitored and put together by MISO. If an issue does arise, they will contact our plants and we will work accordingly with them. Again, we have no issues detected or forecast at this time, but it is very important for you to protect your family. There are the 4 Ps out there: people, pets, plants, and pipes, of course. So stay warm and happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll conclude, and then we'll have, we'll open it up for questions. But again, I want to repeat, our Emergency Operations Center phone line will be available at all times, 504-349-5360. Again, if it's more appropriate to call 911, it's life-threatening and you need those services, of course, call that number. But again, 504-349-5360. I was actually on the, let me give a transit update. So our Jefferson Parish transit system is conducting normal weekday service Thursday and Friday, and we'll have weekend service as usual Saturday and Sunday. You can visit jptransit.org for any updates that we have. And our transit team is on standby to assist any individuals that need to get to one of our warming centers. So you will have a ride to a warming center. So again, call our EOC number, 504-349-5360. I was on the radio with Tommy Tucker this morning, and I promised him to say what his motto is, and I think it is very appropriate at this time. Just very simply, be aware of what you do before you do it. It's very common sense. Let's have that all top of mind during this holiday season. If you're leaving your house, what is the path to your destination? You're going to be traveling near canals. You're going to be traveling over bridges that might ice. Just be aware of that. In your home, be aware of what you do before you do it. Do you have open hazards, like the chief was saying? Are you placing a wrapped present by the Christmas tree by a space heater, or open flames near toddlers in your house? Just constantly be aware of what you're doing before you do it. It is very common sense. I want to thank Tommy Tucker for that great sentence to use. Again, you can receive our weather and emergency alerts at, you want to text JP Alert or JP Noticias to 888-777. We ask everybody to please stay weather aware, have multiple ways of staying in touch and updated, tune into your local news sources, keep your mobile devices charged, and we want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. But we're here and available if you need assistance. Okay? Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
You guys mentioned it a little bit, but just in general, can you talk about the difficulty in prepping for this cold weather while still kind of recovering from the tornado?
Yeah, I mean, Sarah can come up for more of that, but we're still placing people in trailers. Again, the hazards of this, again, we're used to, and we're in the mode, and you all are used to covering hurricanes and floods. But within the span of a week and a half, we're having two hazards hit us that we as a people, as a community, are just not used to. Okay, we're not used to tornadoes, which is a completely different time frame than prepping for a hurricane. They had seconds to respond, seconds. Anybody on the roadway, we just got so lucky that in that path, and we got so lucky it was just in an isolated area, but if you were in your car or you were walking on the street, you were not surviving the way that tornado hit. So we got very, very fortunate, and we're blessed for that, and that's what we want to get through these couple days in the same way. So that's the preparation is key. But again, it's two weather events that we're not used to having to defend against in a very short period of time. Sarah told me yesterday that we have additional families that need shelter from a tornado. So we're still very much working that event into this event. Did you want to add anything else, Sarah?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we've really seen over the past few days is families with minor damage or sometimes major damage thought they could ride out a short period in that damaged home. And that was one thing when it was dry and 60-degree weather. And so what we've seen is an increase in calls for people looking for temporary housing from the tornado as we, have had rain the past few days and now headed into the cold weather. Thanks to Team Rubicon, we were able to professionally install tarps on over 30 homes in the last 3 days, so that will help people who had minor damage. And as I've mentioned, we've continued to move people into trailers every day since Friday, Saturday. So we're continuing to work as quickly as we can to get them situated, but it is hard to have two incidents back to back, both on residents who are in a difficult situation and for the staff who've been working long hours this week. Thank you.
Yes.
Usually people in the South, we hear those conversations from people say, oh, everybody's freaking out about the cold, the North does it all the time. But talk about why it's different here, and I think it has to do with the fact that we don't have some of these materials.
That's exactly like the sheriff was saying. I mean, he's concerned about, if the roads freeze over. We don't have the ice trucks. I've lived in the Northeast. There's a whole host of equipment pieces that we don't have down here. So, I mean, that is why we're having this, and that's why, it's more than a cold weather event. It's all the hazards that it brings about. In the same way that the Northeast was not prepared for a hurricane, and that during Ida we had, one death during the time, they lost 40 people. They just were not prepared for those floods. In the New Jersey, New York area, I want to say it was like over 40 people died because they're not used to dealing with that kind of weather event. And we're not used to dealing with these extreme cold temperatures over a long period of time. So yes, that is an important point to bring up. So we're not overreacting, and we're not, getting up here for the sake of just doing this. We know that there are perils ahead that people are not aware of. Because we're not used to thinking like this. And that's why we're doing this press conference, and I had all these people kind of explain that the perils ahead. And we're distracted because it's, Christmas and holiday times. So again, just be mindful of what you're doing. Anybody else? Yes.
How does this compare
power was knocked out, or like you mentioned, some water issues and things like that. Is it worse? Are we expecting worse conditions?
When did you say the last time we had a Christmas? Did somebody say? It's been a long time, yes. And, you know, I think we're in the mode of, you know, we as a team have been in defense mode for the last couple years. I think we're very aware of the potential for problems because we've been through so many different things. So I think we're hypersensitive to, you know, and kind of sharpen our pencil on, oh, okay, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, you know, which maybe if you haven't had a weather event or you haven't had a hurricane event for several years, you get a little sleepy on that front. But we as a team are very hypersensitive to what could go wrong. Our response times are very quick now. If you look at the tornado and the services we were able to provide, response time was very, very quick with that, but it's because we're sort of used to being in that response mode. Yes. Yes.
So I just wanted to add back on what the parish president said, is that every incident that we encounter has a different set of threats, risk, and so we have to look at that particular incident. For the tornado, we had been looking at that for 5 days, that line of thunderstorms that was coming down. We worked closely with our state partners. We did a tremendous amount of assessing as to where the risk and where the threats were going to be. On that day, we were ready to lean forward, and our response strategies were in place. So for this particular event, which is totally different and unique, somewhat unique to this area, that it doesn't happen very often, our critical infrastructure is not necessarily designed to handle these type of temperatures, particularly for a long duration of time. So for the last week, or the last 4 days, we've been working closely with our department heads, the parish administration, state officials on our response strategies. And we weigh the risk and we weigh the threats. And so that's why we take this so seriously, even though there are some people that are extremely complacent about it. So we don't have that luxury to be complacent. We have to be ready to move forward if anything is, if any emergency is initiated from this Arctic front. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more question. I don't know if Public Works or Water would answer this, but those living in apartments, there's been some material out there suggesting that those in apartment homes should trickle their water, but I know you had mentioned that only those in raised homes.
Do you want to give some?
So apartments are similar to any I guess situation with a regular home. If it's an apartment that's raised off the ground, the same recommendation. You know, run your water to the faucet that's furthest to the back of the home. But if it's on a slab, it has that added protection. I mean, everybody has the responsibility of protecting their home in the best way they can. If they feel like they need to run the water for whatever's going on at their house, their hot water heater might be in the attic where the attic is not insulated properly. Those are the decisions that everybody has to make with their home and choose to run the water or not.
Any other questions? Thank you all for being here. Everybody be safe. Thank you very much.